Hi, fifth graders. Today we are going to be doing Module 2, Lesson 26 and a half. This lesson is all about dividing decimal dividends, so dividing decimals with 2 by 2 digits that are whole numbers, using estimation, reasoning about where the place values, so where the decimal point goes, and using the written method. So you are going to need to estimate using long division and really think about how moving the decimal point changes not the value, but how we think about the number. Today's problem set is not in your math book. It is attached to the Google Classroom. You may either print it out, copy the problems into your notebook, or you can type directly in the Word document. I do not suggest typing directly in the Word document because it is very hard to show long division this way. I suggest you print it out or just copy it into your math book because that's the easiest way we learn how to do division. Pause this video until you have your problem set in front of you. Now that you have the problem set in front of you, it looks like this. It says decimal division practice using the standard algorithm. Another word for long division. We are going to do one problem together. So we are going to do problem number 1. It is 151 and 90 hundredths or 9/10 divided by 5. So you will notice there's a couple different parts that you need to do on this for number 1 or for each problem. You're going to have to estimate. You're going to have to find the actual solution. So you're going to have to long divide using the real numbers. And then you're going to have to check your work. So let's start doing all 3. So the first thing we are going to do is we are going to estimate. So I'm going to take 151 and 90/10 divided by 5. I'm going to keep 5 as 5 because I can easily divide by 5. So part of estimating is finding my helping number. The helping number is just the number that you are going to count by, or your estimate that's going to help you figure out how many times your divisor goes into your answer or goes into your dividend. We're lucky this time. Our helping number is the same thing as our actual divisor. So we're going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And I stop when I get to 9 numbers because 10 is never an answer. So remember, the only difference between this and counting by 50 or 150 would be adding zeros. So we can always add zeros. So I'm going to take 151 and 90 hundredths, and I'm going to change it to 150 because I know 15 is divisible by 5, which means 150 is divisible by 5. 150 divided by 5, I'm going to use my zeros trick. Cover my 0, I get 15 divided by 5 is 3. Add my 0, and I get 30. That means my answer is going to be approximately 30, or my estimate is 30. So your estimate is going to be, your answer is approximately 30. Now we need to solve. And we are going to solve by long dividing. Our divisor, which is 5, goes on the outside. Our dividend, which is 151 and 90 hundredths, goes on the inside. Notice I'm using my real numbers. Now my helping number is the same as my actual divisor, which doesn't always happen. This helping number helps you to figure out how many times about does this answer go in, or does this number go into these numbers. So we're going to take a look. We have to chunk up our dividend. Dividend is the brownies or the cookies or the money. So if we're thinking about this, this would mean $151.90 divided by 5 people. The number on the outside is the amount of people you are sharing. So I'm going to do 5 because I have to chunk it. 151 is too big. 5 into 1, that doesn't work. 5 into 15. I'm going to look at my helping number. Goes in 3 times. So 5 into 15, or 15 divided by 5 is 3. Ooh, Miss Scharf forgot. You always should write your song or your saying to help you remember your steps. So you could either do dirty monkey smell bad really, or divide, multiply, subtract. Oops, that's subtract. Subtract this right again. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. So divide, multiply, and subtract. Bring it on down and bring it on back. So either dirty monkey smell bad really, or divide, multiply, and subtract. Bring it on down and bring it on back. So we divided. Now we have to multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract. We get 0. Bring down. We get 1. Repeat. So we start again. Divide. 1 divided by 5. Or how many times does 5 fit into the number 1? 5 cannot fit into 1. So a 0 goes above the 1 because we're now using that 1. 5 times 0, multiply. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract. We get 1. Bring down. We get 9. Repeat. Start at the beginning. Now we divide. 19 divided by 5. Or how many times does 5 fit into 19 without going over? Well, I can get to 15 before it gets bigger than 19. So that is, again, 3. I'm putting my 3 above the 9 because that's the number we just brought down. Multiply. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract. We get 4. Bring down again. We get 0. Repeat. 40 divided by 5. Or how many times does 5 go into 40? If I look at this, because I'm working smarter, not harder, I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Multiply. 5 times 8 is 40. We get 0. Now there's nothing here, and we ended with a 0. So that means we're done. Let's pretend, though, that I ended up with the number 2 here. If I ended up with a remainder, I don't want to end up with a remainder. So I would add another 0, and I would bring down. Fortunately, though, and I would then keep dividing until I ended with a 0. Fortunately, though, we ended with a 0, so we can stop and we can place our decimal. We know that our decimal, or our answer, needs to be close to 30. That means our decimal needs to be placed somewhere that makes this number close to 30. So if I placed it here, I would get 3. That's not close to 30. If I placed it here, I would get 30 and 38 hundredths. Pretty close, but let's just double check. If I placed it here, I would get 303, and that would be too far. So we're going to place it right between the 0 and the 3, and we would get 151 and 90 hundredths divided by 5 is equal to 30 and 38 hundredths. We are not done just yet. We need to check our work. Remember, you check your work by doing the opposite. So if we divided, then we multiply. If we subtracted, then we add. So we don't have a remainder, so we don't have to add. We are taking 30 and 38 hundredths and multiplying it by 5. So the answer, or the quotient, by the divisor. This number by this number, and you multiply. Because how did we get this answer? We got this answer by dividing by 5. And then if you think back to multiplying by decimals, forget about the Mr. Scharf can't talk to me today. Forget about the decimal. Just worry about the numbers. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 4 is 19. Carry the 1. 5 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. 5 times 3 is 15. Now, I know that 30 times 5 is approximately 150, or is 150. So since I just rounded, I know my answer is going to be close to 150. I drop my decimal to make sure it's close to my rounded number. I get 151 and 90 hundredths. That's the number I started with all the way at the top. So when we checked our work, we know that our answer is correct. Make sure you take your time, show all your steps, go back and use your notes from last week or from lesson 26 if you are confused. The biggest thing at the beginning is make sure you estimate and make sure you use your helping number or skip counting. If you're not doing that, you're working too hard and not smart enough. Good luck, fifth graders. You can do it.